Good afternoon. My name is Gene Green, and I represent a district in Houston, Texas. And we just finished probably the first time we've had a joint Texas delegation meeting, and we did it on Thursdays when our Republicans typically meet. So, and we invited everyone to come here because what we're doing is we have 36 members of the House from Texas, and we have 10 of us who share the upper Texas coast, actually 11 counting the tragedy in Corpus and in that area. So we have 11 of us who were directly impacted by Hurricane Harvey. And we just wanted to sit down and talk. We had a conference call with the mayor of Houston, conference call with the governor. Our 2 senators were with us. And so what we're showing is that Texas is united to work to make sure we rebuild our community. And I think that's what we're here today for, to show that we're all together, whether you're Republican or Democrat. We're going to do it. And with that, I will, the good news, I guess I could talk about it. We passed a bill yesterday. The Senate's going to pass a bill today that will double that amount and send it back to us, and we hope we'll be able to pass it before we leave here tomorrow. But again, that's a lot of logistics. But I'm going to just go from Democrat to Republican, and then we'll give everybody a chance to just say something. But we're united to make sure Texas gets rebuilt. Okay. Pardon?
There's a list right there of the order.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. The next speaker will be Congressman Culberson. John? Is John not here?
He's on his way.
Okay, he's on his way. Okay. Congressman Fairthold's the next one. And you'll introduce Al.
Okay.
And somewhere along the way, we need to go back to Sheila.
He'll introduce Sheila, I guess. All right, hi, I'm Congressman Blake Fairthold from Corpus Christi, Texas. And as Gene said, it was great to have all the Texas delegation together. We are united in providing the help that is needed for those who lost so much in the devastating hurricane that struck our state. Our thoughts and prayers are also with people in Florida and along the eastern seaboard who are bracing for this. You know, we saw a great thing when Texans were helping Texans. Americans from all over the country sent help to Texans, Americans helping Texans. But there really is only so much individuals can do. We reached the point now of rebuilding the infrastructure of our cities, clearing the brush and debris. So there's a lot to be done, and that's why in a bipartisan fashion, the House came together and passed our disaster relief package, and we've got the Senate version that we ought to be coming back to us this afternoon. That we've been told by the House leadership we're not going home until we get something done on that, and I think that shows the commitment of this Congress to helping the folks of Texas, and I think it'll also show the commitment that we're going to have for our brethren in Florida. I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who has helped out the communities that really were devastated by this. The area I represent, Corpus Christi, Ingleside, Rockport, Refugio, Aransas Pass, Victoria, got a lot of wind damage. The folks in Houston got a lot of water damage. There's just a wide variety of damage we're facing in Houston, but we're all going to come together and we're going to get what's needed to get folks' lives back to normal as soon as possible. And again, I want to say thank you. Everybody helped. It's not just that we're Texas strong, we're America strong. Thank you very much. And we'll go to Sheila Jackson Lee from Houston next. Sheila? Excuse me, I'll scoot out over here next to Eugene.
I think what Congressman Gene Green and Congressman Blake Fairthold have already indicated and already shown, we have come together in such unity. There's a spirit that I can't even capture in the meetings and the embraces that we've given each other, not for each other, but for our constituents, who many of them are still underwater. So I want to express my commitment for a continued unity and work around very disparate issues. And we may take different paths, but we'll be unified in restoring this state. I think there are elements that are very important, and it's important for our constituents to know that we're not forgetting them. We are prayerful for those who are impacted by Hurricane Irma. We want them to have everything they need. We want to make sure that we have the FEMA staffing right to the end, because so many of our constituents are calling for FEMA representatives to help them in these very unique and unusual circumstances. We want to make sure that we have relief for apartment dwellers, along with those who are in homes whose homes need to be restored, need to be cleaned. We want to make sure we have the personnel there and the resources to ensure that they get that work done. And then our senators are not here, they're voting on the floor. I want to thank Senator Cornyn for taking the leadership and working with Senator Cruz. So when this day is over, or when the next 2 days are over, we'll have $14.8 billion, and a big piece of that will be for housing community development. Finally, 2 points that I want to close on. This is a family. And when I spoke last week, I said there is hope. And so for many people, they want to know where their income will come. And Texans are a whole state of business persons. We're going to look to make sure our business persons, our small business persons, come back. And I'm very grateful for that. And then we have a national issue that's impacting Texas, and that is Dreamers. And I hope many of us will speak about that. We're not dividing over what our views are on issues of immigration reform, but we are joining to make sure the law is known. And the law is that Dreamers are statused, they are protected, and no changes have come to their status, and they should not be fearful for getting aid. So I'm again grateful for this unity. I look forward to working for them, and I will make sure that we work together in the $174 billion that we're now initially asking for, and I'm delighted to introduce my Houston colleague, Representative Ted Poe, because we'll all be walking the same pathway together. Thank you. Representative Ted Poe. Thank you.
Right here.
Oh,
Excuse me. And Ted, you go down. Thank you very much. The Texas Delegation is Texas strong, and we have come together united to resolve and solve this immediate issue of Harvey. But we're also mindful of what's taking place in Florida, and we hope to resolve that issue together with the folks in Florida and the rest of the Congress. The 36 Texans, the 2 U.S. senators, and the governor of Texas all met today. The governor called in, and we're going to meet again to continue to solve this immediate problem of disaster relief and how we can help. I think that we are setting a good example of putting politics aside and prioritizing it with people. And that's what we're doing. And we're going to continue to do that down the road. We need to understand that I'm from Houston, grew up there. Long term, we're going to have to resolve that problem because there's going to be another Harvey. And we need to build at least 1 more reservoir, maybe 2 more reservoirs. We have to figure out how to get the water out of the Houston area down to the Gulf of Mexico without flooding. Many people in my district are still flooded. They got flooded by the San Jacinto River. They got flooded by Addicks Dam when it overflowed and water came out. There are many issues, but the point is that I want to make is that we're going to work together to make sure that we resolve this people issue and keep politics out of it. And that's just the way it is. And now I want to introduce my friend that I have been strong friends with since 1973. We became lawyers together, Al Green, who represents another part of the Houston area.
Thank you very much, Judge. And I want to thank all of my colleagues. The attendance today at the meeting was about as good as it gets. It was indicated that we had our senators there, and we had an opportunity to speak to the governor, and of course we spoke to the mayor of the city of Houston. This is something that is unprecedented. We are having to create a means by which we can address a Category 4 hurricane that has devastated our area. And to do this, we are obviously going to have to deal with the issue of housing. Community development block grants are going to be exceedingly important. We're going to work together to make sure that we do all that we can to house every person who has a claim that we can sincerely and truthfully meet. I also would recommend and suggest that we look at the trash removal. This is something that was called to our attention. It has to be taken up quickly. We cannot allow it to stay out on the street in front of the homes because of the health hazard associated with it. We also talked about the National Flood Insurance Program. It's important that we do something to make sure that the premiums are affordable and such that people can have the insurance when we start the rebuilding process. There are many other issues that we will have to address. The infrastructure has been mentioned, infrastructure in Houston, of course, but also along the Gulf Coast. There are other infrastructure projects that will have to be addressed. It's a really big undertaking, but it's not so large that we can't do it if we remain Texas strong. Texas strong means Texans working together. We are doing it now. We intend to continue, and we intend to meet the challenge. Now I will have the opportunity of introducing Mr. Pete Olson, the pilot, and he is also the member from Sugar Land, which is right near my congressional district. He is south of me in Texas. Pete, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Pete Olson, and I'm proud to represent Texas 22. Texas 22 is a suburban Houston district. It includes almost all Fort Bend County, which was hit hard because the heart of the Brazos River runs through our county. Also has parts of Missouri County, northern part, and a sliver of Harris County, the southwestern part. My shirt says Houston proud, and I am Houston proud. But all these colleagues behind me, be they Democrat or Republican, if you can see their hearts, they are Houston proud. We've come together like no delegation I've seen before, working hard to get our people in need the resources, the funds, the housing, the food, whatever, to go on, get their lives back. As was promised, we ain't going home until we pass some bill to give our people relief quickly. And then once that's started, we'll take some time, find out what they need, and get this done as quick as possible. I am so proud of this delegation, of our local mayors, our county judges, our governor, people in Austin, and most of all, the people who got in their boats, got in big pickup trucks, drove through raging waters to come to aid of a neighbor in need. That's to make Texas special, and we'll keep that going forward. Thank you, God bless. And now I'd like to turn it over to Lloyd Doggett from Austin, Texas.
Thank you, Pete. Well, thank you very much. San Antonio and Austin were very fortunate to get only some tree limbs down and a little heavy rain, but nothing like the peril in which our neighbors just a few miles to the east suffered. Through the course of this effort, there's been excellent local, state, and federal cooperation in advance of the hurricane, during the hurricane, and since then. And what we're about is just continuing that same kind of spirit. During this disaster, I personally worked on some action concerning access to health insurance, concerning some of the problems our immigrants have faced and their desire to work to help rebuild Texas, and on some legislation that I hope will be incorporated into a larger package later in the month to provide some tax relief to the working poor who have been victims of this. I think we are standing together, working on a number of actions. We may have our differences on some specific policies, but we're all looking at how can we come together on behalf of Texas in the same spirit that we have seen so many of our emergency personnel from Central and South Texas and so many of our neighbors who reached out, helped people, and really reflected the goodness of Texas. And Randy Weber, glad to have participate in this. Randy?
Well, I'm Randy Weber. I represent District 14 in Texas, which is the 3 coastal counties starting at Louisiana and coming down the coast. Arguably, we were ground zero for the flooding from Harvey. The destruction was just amazing. I've grown up in a 20-mile radius on the Gulf Coast, lived there 64 years, and never seen anything like it. just absolutely historic. Our district produces about 60% of the nation's jet fuel, almost 20% of the nation's gasoline east of the Rockies. We've got five ports in our district, more than any other member of Congress. Port of Beaumont is the leading strategic military port in the nation. It moves more military personnel and equipment than any other port in the country. And so you can see that our district is extremely important. And we've got the largest refinery in the Western Hemisphere, a company called Motiva that was shut down. ExxonMobil took on water, probably close to the second or third largest refinery. And so fuel supplies, as you may have noted, have been in short supply, and you're starting to see fuel prices rise. So we're working hard to be sure we get those back online. Probably only about 16 to 20% of the people in our district had flood insurance, because so much of this happened actually wasn't in flood zones. And so the devastation has been unreal and heartbreaking. I do want to echo what my colleagues have said today at lunch. I want to thank Henry Cuellar, and I want to thank Joe Barton for putting together a bipartisan lunch. I want to thank Mike Burgess for paying for it, by the way. And it was historic. I think almost every single member of the House, Texas House, was there. The senators came in and out. A couple of former members from the Texas House were there. You know, with so much divisiveness in our country and so much rhetoric one side against the other, it's refreshing to see us working together. And I got to tell you, I'm proud that we'll get out of this divisiveness, and maybe this is what it takes. Texas is leading the way. You know, Harvey may have flooded our district. He may have done a number on our state, but I tell you what, Harvey did not dampen our Texas spirit. We're going to come back from this stronger than ever. You're already seeing evidence of it as the bill that was funded quickly. We'll get the Senate on board. You'll see more of the bills coming out soon. It's just an absolute. I toured the whole country, went in all of the areas where people were staged, and I will tell you, it's heartbreaking to see the lives and the families that were devastated. When you go into some of these areas and you see the houses and the cars and the stuff on the front yard, it's unbelievable. The good thing is we saw people come from everywhere. We saw Louisiana send their Cajun Navy over with about 100 boats. It's so good to have them as a neighbor. We even coined a new phrase, Sheila. We call it Cajun-eering, because they got things done that we didn't think was possible. Just heartwarming to see this going on. I will tell you this, and I'm going to end with this. Mayor Becky Ames of Beaumont had a great quote. She said, "Harvey may have brought the downpour, but Texas and Americans brought the outpouring." With that, I'm going to yield to my friend, Miss Eddie Bernice Johnson.
Thank you very much. I proudly stand with the Texas delegation today. Most of us are native Texans, and Texans really are special. We have that Texas spirit, and we'll overcome this together. Sometimes you might think that because our ideas vary, that we are not together, but we are. You have to understand that Texas is larger than at least 5 states. Houston can get the entire city of the District of Columbia in it. And so we are big. I'm 400 miles from Houston, and we'll house a lot of people with the spirit of love and welcome. They've come from the Houston, South Texas area as well as Louisiana. We're going to weather this together. We know that other incidences will happen around the country, especially the coastal areas. We stand ready to stand together, and we appreciate the support that we have seen from around the world, and also how the state itself has come together to support the affected areas. All of us actually are affected because people have moved around. We will see ourselves through this incident together, and we thank all of the support that we have received. Dr. Babin, who was in a part of the state that was damaged, but he's right here with the spirit of repair. Where is it?
Right here, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I'm Brian Babin. I represent Texas 36. It is indeed a privilege and an honor to be a Texan. Never have I seen such a storm, but never have I seen such outpouring of brotherly love, neighbors helping neighbor, Texas spirit, can do, and quite frankly, I'm very, very proud to be a Texan, to be standing up here with my colleagues who have pledged their assistance, and we've already got the ball rolling. We passed a $7.8 billion package yesterday. The Senate, as you've heard today, is going to nearly double that, which is exactly what our people need. I was born and raised in southeast Texas, and again, never saw a storm that had the way we saw this hurricane do us. It came on shore 3 times, and then it just parked itself and dropped its rain. My 9 counties stretch from eastern Houston, East Harris County, all the way over to the Louisiana line, to Orange County and Newton County and Jasper, and those counties that are in between. And so I want to just tell you that I have never seen devastation and rainfall like we saw. And it's heartbreaking to see and hear the stories and to travel around and see the folks that have been impacted by this terrible storm. Our staff actually had a teletown hall last night, and we had 4 experts from FEMA, the Small Business Administration, another one from FEMA, and we absolutely answered a lot of valuable questions. People called in. We actually called about 100,000 people last night, and of course not everybody got to ask a question, but I think many of them were going to ask the same questions, and we got some great answers last night. Because people they're confused, they're frustrated, they're angry, and my district is a large district. I have 3 major rivers: the Sabine River, the Natchez River, and the Trinity River, and plus a 4th. I've got the San Jacinto River that goes through my district as well. 3 major reservoirs. All these dams had to be opened up in order to keep from being breached, which caused a lot of folks downstream to be driven from their homes. But we're here to help, and that's what we're all about. And I want to say thank you to my colleagues again for standing tall. We may not agree on all the issues, but we agree on one thing, and that is restoring our constituents and our citizens of Texas. Again, thank you. Thank you to our neighbors in Louisiana and many other places around the country, the churches. My goodness, it was just heartwarming. So thank you very much. Yeah, and I'd like to introduce Henry Cuellar from Laredo, Texas.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. Again, Gene, thank you very much for putting this together. I represent part of the San Antonio area, the Laredo area, the McAllen area, and we were not affected. We got some rain, but I do want to say that the folks from San Antonio, from Laredo, from McAllen, all pitch in like all the Texans to make sure that we pitch in and help, send folks up there, provided shelter. We did it together as Texans. I want to talk about 3 things. First of all, I have to say, Joe Barton, I want to say thank you to Joe. We called him up to see if we can do a bipartisan thing. He said yes, and we got, in a long time, we got everybody together, including the 2 senators. That's the way it should be, all of us working bipartisan. This is a bipartisan issue, and it's not a Democratic or Republicans, and we are, in fact, it turned out so good, we're going to put a working group to talk about how we ought to be working together in a bipartisan way. But more importantly, we're going to meet again next week to make sure we continue this effort as Texans. Number 1. Number 2, certainly all of us have to pitch in. And one of the things when I was in the state legislature, we created the Rainy Day Fund. And we want to make sure that the federal government does its fair share. But we also want to make sure that our Texas colleagues, if there's a rainy day fund, I know what the legislative intent is. This is a time to look at the rainy day fund so all of us can provide as much help to our communities. Finally, the last thing I want to bring up is I certainly want to say there's 4 of us in the appropriations. You got John Copelandson, the chairman over here. You got Kay Ranger, another chairwoman. You also have John Carter, another one also, that Chairman Carter has FEMA, and then myself. There are 4 of us in the appropriations. And again, we are going to do everything we can to make sure that we provide the funding. And again, it's going to work because we're going to work together as Texans. So to all my colleagues, thank you. And we're going to be depending on y'all that were affected to make sure that we listen to you so we can appropriate the money, all of us as a team. It's my pleasure to introduce a friend of mine. We were colleagues, freshmen in the state legislature. He got here a little bit before I did. We're working together in the appropriation. My good friend John Coupleton from Houston. John.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Texans need to know that the entire Texas congressional delegation is united. We're working together arm in arm, just as we did during the storm, to help rescue our neighbors, our family, and our friends. We as a delegation will be totally unified in ensuring that this emergency appropriations package becomes law, that Texans get the money they need right away for immediate relief to help them over the short term. And then we put together a working group to come up with a medium and long-term set of proposals to help make sure people can rebuild their houses, make sure that we rebuild our infrastructure, our flood controls network, to make sure that we've repaired the damage to the Houston Ship Channel, to make sure that we're working with our governor and our state and local authorities, for example, on the Ike Dike, on building and levee, on the upper waters of Cypress Creek, that we're looking at the entire flood control infrastructure in a long-term way. Once the working group has put together its proposals, we talked at our lunch today about getting together with the Florida delegation and working together arm in arm. So the people of the United States need to know that we are, all of us, focused on restoring the damage that was done to Texans, to people of Louisiana and to Florida. We'll be doing so without regard to party. We're going to work together as delegation, Texas and Florida and Louisiana, to help make sure these problems are solved in the short term and in the long term, in a way that, I'll tell you, it really makes me especially proud to be a Texan. And I'm very proud to be a part of this group and the way that we're all working together arm in arm. That's as it should be. Thank you very much. Yes, well, I want to call my good friend Joaquin Castro.
Thank you, Congressman. Today we stand together as Texans more than anything else, not as Republicans or Democrats. This is an issue, as you can tell, that unites all of us. And we've said to our leadership that this is the first aid package that you'll see for Texas, and we expect that there will be more. The governor and others have estimated that this will be well over $100 billion that Texas will need to recover. We want to make sure going forward that this aid is not conditioned on any controversial thing that would endanger its passage. And as we recover, San Antonio, of course, was spared much damage from the storm, but was a major staging area for evacuees, for the sending of supplies and help to the Gulf Coast region, to the coastal bend, and to the Golden Triangle. In addition to the things that have been said, I would echo or agree with my colleagues on everything that they've said. We also need to make sure that as part of the rebuilding process, we work with the EPA and TCEQ to make sure that the water and the air around Houston and the Gulf Coast region is safe and clean for the people of those areas. And so over the next several months, I'm sure longer than that, we'll all be working together to do the right thing for the people of Texas. Thank you. Yes, now it's my honor to introduce a great friend that I served with in the Texas legislature, who represents both Dallas and Fort Worth, Mark Vesey.
Thank you, Joaquin, very much. I had the opportunity on Sunday to go and visit one of the recovery centers in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and it was very amazing what I saw. People coming together, pharmacists, doctors, pediatrician, members from the mental health community, the Texas Department of Public Safety offering IDs and driver's license to people that were not able to find theirs back in Beaumont and the Houston area, and many other services that were being provided. People that were pulling extra hours from their everyday jobs, coming together to help Texans, and I can assure you that our delegation, both Democrat and Republican, are working in that same spirit, coming together, putting Texans first. And I think that it's really important for people to see that from us. So oftentimes when people turn on the news and they turn on their favorite cable news channel, they see a certain perception of what happens here. And when you think about what they've gone through over the last week or so, they need to turn on the TV and see us working together, coming together as a family, coming together as Texans first, because what they're going through right now is so devastating. That's why so many of those professional health services are gathered together for them to help serve them and help them get over that. And we want to be a friend that they can lean on too during these times. And I want all Texans to know, regardless of how you feel about any sort of politics, that we are very serious about working together and coming together as one and making sure that we aid in the recovery effort as quickly and efficiently as possible. Thank you very much.
You want to do Vicente Gonzalez?
And I want to introduce my good friend from the Valley, Vicente Gonzalez.
Thank you, Congressman. And I want to thank Congressman Gene Green for putting this event together and the entire Texas delegation. Nothing could make me more proud than to see the amazing display of unity Texas has shown America today. I certainly hope this unity continues throughout our Congress and we could spread this throughout our country. Our hearts and prayers are with our brothers and sisters in Florida and in the Caribbean. I'm from the Rio Grande Valley. Our district didn't get hit much, but we're reaching out to our brothers and sisters on the coastal bend in Houston and Corpus Christi and up and down the coast. Today, we are all Texans. Today, we're not Democrats and we're not Republicans. We're only Texans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicente. The whole delegation is not here, but we did meet together. Like I said, almost everyone was there and showing that Texas unity. And I want to thank all my colleagues here, but we also have reinforcements that didn't come to the press conference, but they were there today helping make the decisions. So thank you, and we're going to work together as Texans, whether we're Democrats or Republicans. Thank you. And we have votes right now. Thank you.